Hello everyone, welcome back to our shir in Dirshu Bahalacha. First of all, thank you so much for those who joined me last night by the Chasana. It was a pleasure to see you. I'm sorry that I missed a shir yesterday. I had wanted to record in the morning, but Layolsa Biyadi just was not able to do it. Today I'm actually recording the Eitzes Svarim of Yeshiva Staten Island. I'm here for Sheva Brachas. I can't make it live tonight. I would have liked to, but the schedule of Sheva Brachas doesn't allow for it. So we're going to continue our virtual share. We're holding today on the bottom of Reish Mem Ches Amid Aleph. We are beginning Siman Shin Pei Aleph. And we're continuing to discuss the topic of the halachas of Bittul Rishus. When somebody wants to be mevatel the Rishus that he has in a chutzner to allow an eruv to take place. So let's see what the Mechaber says. Siman Shin Pei Aleph. Dinei ha'mevatel rishusai va'avar v'hoitzi. What are the halachas of somebody who is mevatel his rishus, but after he's mevatel his rishus, he goes out and he takes things from his house into the chutzner. So he's being over, he's transgressing, so to speak, and he's once again taking possession of the chutzner that he was mevatel rishus over, and that's going to create a problem in certain cases. Says the Mechaber, ha'mevatel rishusai. Somebody was mevatel his rishus. So let's use the classic example. We have the bungalow colony. We have the 20 units in the bungalow colony. 19 of the residents of the chutzner joined together in an eruv chatzeros. One resident neglected to join the eruv. He's bringing down the whole eruv because now, once again, there are multiple entities in the chutzner. You have the 19 people who joined in an eruv, so they're one entity. And now you have this one fellow who forgot, who somehow neglected to join the eruv. He's a separate entity. These two entities aser on each other, and neither one of them are going to be allowed to be metaltal in the chutzner. So the way we resolved the problem was by the one person who did not join the eruv, he's going to be mevatel his rishus to the other 19. He's giving away whatever rishus he has in the chutzner. He's being mesalik himself. He's removing himself, so to speak, from the chutzner. He's becoming a guest by the other 19. And now you once again only have one entity in the chutzner. You have the 19 who joined in an eruv, and now tiltal is going to be mutter in the chutzner once again. But the problem over here is, ha'mevatel rishusai, this one person who neglected to join the eruv, he was mevatel his rishus, but then, v'hoitzi achakach mi beisai lechutzner. And then, after he went ahead, and he told the 19 people, I am being mevatel my rishus to you, he then went ahead and made use of the chutzner. He went ahead and he took things out of his house and he put them into the chutzner. So now he's making use of the chutzner again. So now it looks like he's taking the rishus that he was mevatel, he's taking it back. And sometimes that could make a problem. Before we go further to see what the exact halacha is, let's see the Mishnah Berurah. First thing the Mishnah Berurah says is Eis Katan Aleph, v'hoitzi achakach. The Mechaber said he was mevatel rishus, and then after being mevatel rishus, he went ahead and he was moitzi. He took something out from his house to the chutzner. Pirush, says the Chavetz Chaim, what does this mean? She'avar v'hoitzi. He was over. He did something that he wasn't supposed to do, and he was moitzi from his house to the chutzner. I think it would make sense for us to take a look at the Shar Hatzion Eis Katan Aleph, because over there he spells out, the Chavetz Chaim explains the halacha a little bit more. Says the Chavetz Chaim in Shar Hatzion Eis Katan Aleph, Deloi mibaya im loi bitel rishus beisai elachatzerai. Let's say when this person was mevatel rishus, he was not mevatel the rishus over his house. If you remember, we said earlier that if somebody is mevatel rishusai min hastam, if somebody just gets up and he tells the other people in the chutzner, I am being mevatel my rishus to you, but he does not spell out what rishus he's being mevatel. Is he being mevatel the rishus that he has in the chutzner and the rishus that he has over his own house, or is he only being mevatel the rishus that he has in the chutzner? So we said earlier, when somebody is mevatel rishusay stam, if he does not specify, the assumption is that he's being mevatel his rishus in the chutzner, but not his rishus in the house. Over here says the Chavetz Chaim, Loi mibayim loi bita rishus beisai elachatzerai. Certainly, in this case, if this person who was mevatel his rishus was only mevatel the rishus that he had over his chutzner, and now he wasn't mevatel the rishus over his house, now he went ahead and he took something on Shabbos from his house. He took a keli shavas babayis. He took the lawn chair that started off Shabbos in his house, and he brought it out to the chutzner on Shabbos. Was he allowed to do that? No. He's being over. He's not allowed to do that. How can he do that? He was mevatel the rishus that he has in the chutzner to the other 19 residents of the chutzner. The rishus over his house he retained for himself. So his house and the chutzner are two different rishuyos. He's not allowed to be moitzi on Shabbos from his own rishus in his house to the rishus of the tzibur in the chutzner. He's not allowed to do that. So he was over. So the loy mibayim loy bitel rishus beisoy elachatzeroy the aser, that's aser. Shaharei moitzi mi rishus l'rishus, because he's transferring from one rishus to another, from the house which is his own rishus to the chutzner which belongs to the other 19 that joined in an erev. Ukedela el siman shin peisef aleph. Elo, says the Chavetz Chaim, afilu in bitel gam rishus beisoy. Even if we're talking about a case where the mevatel was mevatel both the rishus that he has in the chutzner and the rishus over his house, gam kein aser lahaitzi. It's still aser for him to be moitzi from his house to the chutzner. Why? Shaharei al yedei haitza asai, because by going ahead and taking a keli from his house and putting it into the chutzner, chayzer mi bituloi, he is reneging on his bittul. He was mevatel whatever rishus he had in the chutzner. Now he's going ahead and he's using the chutzner. He's taking kalim out of his house and he's putting it in the chutzner. V'yesh iser l'mafreya. When he backs out of his bittul, he's bringing down the erev. Let's remember, the only reason the erev is working over here, he never joined the erev. He never joined the erev. So there's the 19 that joined in the erev and he's separate. How did he resuscitate the erev? Because he was mevatel his rishus over the chutzner, and in this case over his house as well. But now he's going ahead and he is taking kalim from his house, he's putting it in the chutzner, so he's making use of the chutzner. By doing that, it looks like he's backing out of the deal, he's backing out of his bittul. Once he backs out of his bittul, once again he's going to destroy the erev, because now there's the 19 that joined in the erev, and again there's him. So that's why we have a problem over here. This is why the Mechaber says, if somebody does bittul rishus, he's mevatel his rishus to the other bnei chutzner, so that he shouldn't aser on them. So then it depends. B'shoigeg, if he does this b'shoigeg, if he forgot that he was mevatel rishus, and he forgot that really he's not allowed to use the chutzner, b'shoigeg ein yoser. If he did it b'shoigeg, then we don't say that he's taking his rishus in the chutzner back, and then he does not aser on the other bnei chutzner. Aber b'mezid, if he does this with intent, if he does it intentionally, I am going ahead and I'm using the chutzner, despite the fact that I was mevatel rishus, oiser. Now he's going to aser on the other bnei chutzner, shaharei chayzer mi bitulai shebitel, because it looks like he's backing out of his bittul. Says the Mishnah Berurah, does cut and bays. B'mezid oiser, if he does this with intent, he's going to aser al b'nei chutzner l'taltel. He's going to once again bring down the erev, and now the other b'nei chutzner are going to be aser in tiltel in this chutzner. And what's the reason for this? It's cut and gimel. Shaharei chayzer, because by making use of the chutzner, he's backing out of his bittul. Says the Chavetz Chaim, shenireh, it appears kechayzer umachzik b'rishus shebitel, because in all appearances it looks like he's backing out of his bittul. He said, I'm being mevatel my rishus over the chutzner, I'm being mesalik myself, I don't want to have use of the chutzner. Now he's coming and he's using the chutzner, so it looks like he was treating this like a game. I said I'm being mevatel rishus, yeah, and now I'm going and I'm using the chutzner like I always did. So it appears that he's backing out. Umikol makom, continues the Chavetz Chaim, umikol makom, however, in chayzer achakach u'mevatel mechodosh, if he does make use of the chutzner, and then after making use of the chutzner, he says to himself, oh, wait a second, I made use of the chutzner, so now you're going to tell me I backed out of my bittul. I'll make a new bittul. I'm being mevatel rishus again. So, in mikam makom, in chayzer achakach u'mevatel mechodosh, mahani, that works. Kosav Magen Avram, the Magen Avram says, and we brought this Magen Avram down previously, the lo yamrin anshu kechayzer umachzik. This concept that we say, that when somebody is mevatel, and then he makes use of the chutzner again, it looks like he's once again taking back possession of what he was mevatel. We only say that, the lo yamrin anshu kechayzer umachzik, we only say that he's taking possession back, el al yedei hoitza mi bayis lechutzner, only when he takes items out of the house and puts it into the chutzner. That appears to be taking back reshus in the chutzner. That's called using the chutzner. Aval, however, im machnes me chutzner labayis, when you take something from the chutzner into the house, that, the Magen Avraham says, does not appear to be taking back possession of the chutzner. That does not look like he wants to back out of his bittul, of his reshus of the chutzner, and he wants to once again take reshus of the chutzner. In a way, it looks like the opposite. I gave up my reshus in the chutzner, so I'm taking my items out of the chutzner and I'm bringing them back in the house. But I'm not using the chutzner. When I take my lawn chair from the house and I put it out onto the chutzner, now I'm using the chutzner. Now I'm taking possession of the chutzner. But when I take my chair from the chutzner and I bring it back into the house, says the Magen Avraham, that does not look like chayzer or machzik. That does not look like I'm taking possession back. However, Ukvar kasavnu la'el simin shin pei sif katan tezayin, says the Chavetz Chaim. We already mentioned this previously in simin shin pei, and we said over there shekama paiskim cholkim al zeh, that many paiskim argue on this Magen Avraham. Usvira lahu, and they hold the ein chiluk bein haitzah lahachnasa, that there's no difference in which direction you use it. No difference if you take items from the house to the chutzner or from the chutzner to the house. In both cases, it appears that you're taking back the reshus that you were mevatel, and in both cases, if you did it b'mezid, that would be problematic. Just like we're going to see right now in the Mechaber, we're going to see that when somebody is mevatel reshus, the other people in the chutzner have to take that reshus that the mevatel was mevatel. And in the context of taking the reshus that the mevatel was mevatel, over there the Mechaber is going to say clearly, it doesn't matter what the other bnei chutzner do. It doesn't matter if they take things out of their houses and put it into the chutzner, and by virtue of doing that, we see them as taking possession of the chutzner from the mevatel, or if they do it the other way, or if they take things from the chutzner and bring it into their houses. That's also considered taking over the reshus of the chutzner. So just like we don't differentiate between direction when it comes to the other bnei chutzner taking possession of the chutzner, we also don't make a difference in direction when the mevatel is giving up his ownership of the chutzner. Either way, whether he takes things from the house into the chutzner or from the chutzner into the house, in both ways we say that it could be problematic that he's taking back what he gave up. U'kamoisha Messiahim ha-mechaber. Okay, says the Mechaber weiter, top line on Reish Mem Ches Amud Beis. So what did we just say? The Mechaber just said, if somebody is mevatel his reshus, and then after he's mevatel his reshus, he makes use of the chutzner again, so if he did it b'mezid, that could be a problem, because it appears that he's taking back the reshus that he was mevatel. Now continues the Mechaber, and the Mechaber says, however, there's an important caveat to this. V'im hechziku by kvar, if the other bnei chutzner already took possession of the chutzner from the mevatel, if the mevatel was mevatel his reshus, and the other bnei chutzner already did an action to take over that reshus from the mevatel, and it's only after they did that the mevatel now goes ahead and uses the chutzner again, now we don't say that he's taking his reshus back. It's too late. You can't take it back. The other bnei chutzner already took it over. So therefore, says the Mechaber, if the other bnei chutzner already were machzik in the reshus of the chutzner, they already took possession of the reshus of the chutzner that the mevatel gave up. What does that mean? They already took things out of their houses and put them into the chutzner after the mevatel was mevatel reshus. Or shechnisu mechatzer lebateim, they already took things from the chutzner and brought it into their house. So here you see what the Mechaber is saying, what the Mishnah Berurah said the Mechaber was going to say. Here you see the Mechaber says that as far as the other bnei chutzner taking over the chutzner, it doesn't matter which direction they did it. If after the mevatel was mevatel his reshus, the bnei chutzner came, and they either took things out from their houses and put it into the chutzner, or they took items from the chutzner and brought it into their houses. Either way, eina yachal lachzar mibituloi. Now it's too late for the mevatel to back out. We don't look at the Mavatal and say that now if he uses the Chatzar, he's backing out. He can't back out. It's too late. The Bnei HaChatzar already took over. Ula Rashi, this opinion that we just said now in the Mechaber, this is a more lenient opinion. Ula Rashi, however, according to Rashi and Eruvin, on Samach Chesam and Beis, Ein Chazaka Mayeles, the people, the other Bnei HaChatzar, who are trying to be machzik in the Chatzar, they're trying to take over possession of the Chatzar, their Chazaka does not work, Ela im kein hechziku meishechashecha. It only works if what they did after Shabbos already began. So, for example, let's say the Mavatal was Mavatal his Rishus at 2 o'clock Shabbos afternoon. 2 o'clock Shabbos afternoon, people from the Chatzar came over to him, and they told him, you know, we have a problem. 19 of us joined together in an Eruv Chatzeres. You neglected to become part of the Eruv. You're destroying the Eruv because you're not part of the Eruv. We want you to become part of the Eruv. So this Pliny Almaini, this resident who didn't join in the Eruv, he says, you know what? Instead of me joining the Eruv, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be Mavatal my Rishus to you. So at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Erev Shabbos, he was Mavatal Rishus. All right. Now, he was Mavatal Rishus. Now we're sort of in limbo. Now it depends what's going to happen. If after he was Mavatal his Rishus, he goes ahead and he takes his Rishus back, we're going to have a problem. Unless the other Bnei HaChatzar first take possession. If they take possession, then it's too late for him to back out. Now, what if the other Bnei HaChatzar do something to take possession? They take things out of their houses and they put them in the Chatzar, or they take things from the Chatzar and bring them back into their houses. Let's say they do that before Shabbos begins. Is that effective? We know that the bittul that the Mavatal did, bittul is effective before Shabbos starts. But to take possession, is that effective before Shabbos starts? So here we have a machlokes. According to the first opinion of the Mechaber, yes, taking possession of the Chatzar works even before Shabbos begins. So if the Mavatal was Mavatal his Rishus at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and at 2:30 in the afternoon, the other Bnei HaChatzar took lawn chairs from their houses and put them out onto the lawn, so now they were machzik. They took over the Rishus of the Chatzar. Now if the Mavatal goes ahead and the Mavatal takes his lawn chair and puts it out onto the lawn, it's not a problem. He can't take back his Rishus once the other Bnei HaChatzar were already machzik. And their being machzik was effective, even though it was done on Erev Shabbos. According to Rashi, Rashi holds no. Rashi says you cannot be machzik in the Chatzar until Shabbos begins. And the Mishnah Berurah is going to tell us that Rashi Shita seems to make a lot of sense. What Rashi says is you can't be machzik on Erev Shabbos because on Erev Shabbos, when the other Bnei HaChatzar go ahead and take lawn chairs from their houses and put them out onto the lawn, does that show that they're taking possession of the Chatzar? What did they do? How does their action show that they're taking possession of the Chatzar? On Sunday, they're allowed to put lawn chairs on the Chatzar. On Monday, they're allowed to put lawn chairs out on the lawn. On Tuesday, they're allowed to put lawn chairs out on the lawn. And on Erev Shabbos, they're allowed to put lawn chairs from the houses onto the lawn. So they didn't do anything different now than they could do Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, or any time on Erev Shabbos. So what did they do that shows that they took over possession of the Chatzar from the Mavatal? But if they do it on Shabbos, it shows that they took possession. Because if they didn't take possession on Shabbos, they wouldn't. If not, they wouldn't be allowed to do what they're doing. The only reason they're allowed to do what they're doing is because if they own the Chatzar and they have it in Eruv Chatzeres. So that's the only reason they're allowed to do it. So that shows that they're taking possession. That's the Shita of Rashi. However, we're going to see in the Mishnah Berurah that Pashtus we don't paskin like Rashi. Okay. So the Mechaber said, "Ula Rashi in chazaka mayeles im kein hachziku meishech hashecha." Zok the Mishnah Berurah in Ois Cotton Dalid. Ve'im hachaziku. If the other Bnei HaChatzar take over their machzik rishus, they take over the rishus of the Chatzar from the Mavatal before the Mavatal does anything to renege on the deal and take anything back, then it's too late for him to take anything back. Says the Mishnah Berurah, "Koydem shechazar v'hoitzi kelev." If the other Bnei HaChatzar take possession before the Mavatal turns around, reneges on his deal, and takes Kalim out from his house onto the Chatzar, then Ois Kottenhei Eino Yachal Achzar. Then it's too late. Then the Mavatal can no longer back out of the deal. The Bekom Makom Chazaka Ma'ila B'Kniya. This concept that an action on the part of the other Bnei HaChatzar to take possession of the chutzner is effective, and now we look at them as that they already took ownership of the chutzner, and now the mevatel can't back out. This is a concept. This is a very well-worn concept throughout Shas and throughout Halacha. Chazaka, the concept of chazaka, a chazaka is always effective to take possession of somebody. If somebody buys a field, Reuven buys a field from Shimon, how does Reuven, what act of acquisition does Reuven do to take possession of the field? So one of the acts of acquisition that he could do is he can make a chazaka. He goes ahead, he puts a fence around it, he goes ahead and he works the field. So that's doing an action to show that you took ownership. That's the same concept over here. The concept over here is the mevatel gave up his rishus. Now the other minei chutzner go ahead and they do an act that shows ownership. They go ahead and they're moitzi from their houses into the chutzner. That's an act of chazaka that shows that they are taking ownership. That's why the Chavetz Chaim says the act of chazaka is always seen as being an effective method of taking acquisition. Even though, what kind of chazaka is this? Taking a lawn chair from a house into a chutzner is not a chazaka that you're going to find anywhere in Baba Basra. In Baba Basra, when we talk about taking ownership of a field, so you'll see, we'll say you put a fence up around a field. You go ahead and you do certain types of work in a field. That shows ownership. Taking a lawn chair and putting it out onto the field is not a recognizable act of chazaka anywhere in Shas. So therefore, says the Chavetz Chaim, even though this is certainly not really a chazaka gemura, this is not a real chazaka, afilu hachi, still in all, heikelu chachamim ba, this is a leniency, this is a kula that the chachamim made, the bahani keshar chazakos, that this is a chazaka that is going to work in the context of the Dinei D'Rabbanan of a Ruvei Chatzeros. Uladeyazu, and according to this opinion, this first opinion of the Mechaber, Mahani Chazaka, this act of Chazaka is effective, Afim Hechazik Be'erev Shabbos Achar Habitul, even if this act of Chazaka was done on Erev Shabbos, before Shabbos started. Rashi is going to disagree with this. Rashi says the act of Chazaka has to happen after Shabbos begins. But this opinion, the first opinion in the Mechaber, holds that it works even on Erev Shabbos, even before Shabbos begins. Rashi holds that the chazaka has to be done after Shabbos begins. And like we explained, says the Chavetz Chaim, why does Rashi hold this way? Because if you make the chazaka on Erev Shabbos while it's still daytime, before Shabbos begins, this act that you did doesn't prove anything. The act of chazaka that you did doesn't prove ownership, it doesn't show ownership. Because even without the mevatel being mevatel his rishus, you're allowed to take a lawn chair from your house and put it on the lawn on Erev Shabbos. Same way you're allowed to do it Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So what did you show? You didn't show anything. V'ayin b'bir halacha, if you take a look at the bir halacha, the Chavetz Chaim says, sheyesh lahachmir k'dei azu, that we should be machmir like the opinion of Rashi, because in Bir Halacha, Dibur HaMaschil Ula Rashi, the Chavetz Chaim says that this is not a das yichida, even though the way the Mechaber writes this, the Mechaber makes it sound like this is only the opinion of Rashi. This is a das yichida. Ula Rashi ein chazaka mayela sem kenem zikum meshachashecha. Says the Chavetz Chaim in the Bir Halacha, this is not only a das Rashi, this is the das of the Tur, this is the das of the Rabbeinu Yonason, this is the Ritva, this is, it seems to be Taisus' Shita, this is the Beis Meir's Shita. So this is not just das Rashi. Therefore, says the Chavetz Chaim that we really should be machmer like the Shita of Rashi, that the act of chazaka is only effective after Shabbos begins. Okay. Now we're going to go into Sif Beis. Sif Beis is somewhat complicated. It's all built upon concepts that we've already seen previously. So hopefully you'll remember the concepts. I'll try to break it down and explain it piece by piece. But you have to halt cup. You have to keep cheshbon, each case, what it is that we're talking about. And we have to be very careful to explain each prat cotton, each detail of what the halacha is and what the Mishnah Berurah says. So let's dive into Sif Beis. Says the Mechaber, Yesh bitul rishus mechotzer lechotzer. You could be mevatel rishus from one chotzer to another chotzer. Says the Mishnah Berurah right away, nice cotton Zion. Yesh bittul rishus bechatzer lechatzer. What does this mean? Just like, what have we said until now? Until now, we keep on using the example of we have a chutzner with 20 residents, 19 of them joined in the Erev, one guy neglected to join in the Erev. He's destroying the Erev because what did you accomplish with the Erev? You still have multiple entities in the chutzner. So what's the eitzah? The eitzah is that the one person who didn't join in the Erev, he's mevatel his rishus, so he lives in unit number 20 in the chutzner, and because he lives in unit number 20 in the chutzner, he has rights over the chutzner. So unit number 20 is going to be mevatel his rishus, he's giving up his rights in the chutzner to the other 19. Says the Mechaber now, the same way unit number 20 could be mevatel whatever rishus he has in this chutzner to the other bnei ha-chutzner. So this is happening all within one chutzner. So too, one chutzner could be mevatel its rishus to another chutzner. So for example, let's say you have two chatzerim that are next to each other, and there's a fence between the two chatzerim, and there's a doorway in the fence. So we know that the halacha is that their options are open to them. If they want, they could each make two separate eruvin. So Chatzer A could make their own eruv, Chatzer B could make their own eruv. In such a case, the residents of Chatzer A are allowed to transfer back and forth between their houses and their Chatzer, and the residents of Chatzer B are allowed to transfer back and forth between their houses and their Chatzer. However, you cannot take a lawn chair from one of the houses in Chatzer A and bring it to the Chatzer in Chatzer B, because Chatzer A and Chatzer B did not join in one common eruv. They each made their own independent eruvin. However, since they have a doorway that opens up between them, if they want, they could join in one common eruv. If they'll join in one common eruv, now you could even take a lawn chair from a house in Chatzer A and bring it to the Chatzer in Chatzer B, or from a house in Chatzer B and bring it to the Chatzer in Chatzer A, because they joined in one common eruv. Now, let's say we have a case where Chatzer A made their own eruv and Chatzer B made their own eruv. Now they decide, hey, wait a second, that doesn't work for us, because this Shabbos, the Pirkei Avos year, is Shabbos afternoon on the lawn in Chatzer B. And in Chatzer B, we don't have enough lawn chairs. So we want you to be able to take your lawn chairs from the houses in Chatzer A, and we want you to be able to bring them out on the lawn in Chatzer B. So what are we going to do? It's too late to join in a common eruv. What we're going to do is we're going to be mevatel rishus. We'll be mevatel rishus from one Chatzer to the other. So what will happen? The residents of Chatzer B, that's where the Pirkei Avos year is, the residents of Chatzer B are going to be mevatel rishus to Chatzer A. We're giving up our rights in our Chatzer. We're giving them up to you. So now you, Chatzer A, now you have the Chatzer, even in Chatzer B. So now you could take your lawn chairs from your houses in Chatzer A, and you could bring them to the Chatzer in Chatzer B. How about Chatzer B? In Chatzer B, they better hope that they already put their lawn chairs on their lawn on Erev Shabbos, because they're not going to be allowed to take lawn chairs from their houses into their Chatzer. Why? Because they were mevatel rishus, they gave up their rights in their Chatzer to the owners of Chatzer A, but they didn't give up their rights over their houses. So now their houses are a separate rishus from their Chatzer. So by them being mevatel rishus to Chatzer A, they no longer could transfer from their houses to their Chatzer. But the residents of Chatzer A will be able to transfer from their houses to Chatzer B. So here I just gave you a case now where you see that bittul rishus could be effective from one Chatzer to another Chatzer, because Chatzer B was mevatel the rishus of their Chatzer to Chatzer A. And by doing that, they allowed the residents of Chatzer A to take lawn chairs from their houses and bring them out to the Chatzer in Chatzer B. They also lost something. They gave up their right to transfer from their houses to their Chatzer. But here we have a case. This is what the Mechaber means in the beginning of Seif Beis. Yesh bittul rishus mechatzer lechatzer. Bittul rishus is effective even from one Chatzer to another Chatzer. Oh, yeah, so we did ice cut and Zion. Now let's go further in the Mechaber. Now the Mechaber is going to list us a bunch of different cases, a bunch of different scenarios where the bittul rishus from one Chatzer to another Chatzer is effective. Loishna, there's no difference. Shtei Chatzeros, you have Chatzer A and Chatzer B. Pesach beinein, and there's a doorway between them. The Erevu kalachas la'atzma, and each one made its own Erev. That's the scenario that I just gave you with the two colonies, Chatzar A and Chatzar B. So in that case, the bittul rishus from one chatzar to the other one was effective. Says the Mishnah Berurah, the Erevu kalachas la'atzma. This works because Chatzar A and Chatzar B each made their independent Erev. But let's say Chatzar A and Chatzar B did not each make their own independent Erev. Let's say neither Chatzar A nor Chatzar B made an Erev. Or let's say Chatzar A didn't make an Erev, but Chatzar B did. And now Chatzar B will be Mevatel the Rishus to Chatzar A. What does that accomplish? Chatzar A is 20 separate entities. If Chatzar B is Mevatel their Rishus to Chatzar A, so what did they do? They didn't accomplish anything. They were Mevatel Rishus to 20 separate entities. 20 separate entities, Tiltal is still Aser. The Ilay Ervu, says the Mishnah Berurah in Ha'izkat Ches, if the two Chatzeros did not each make their own Erev, Ein Mevatlan. Bittul Rishus doesn't accomplish anything. K'moshe is barb in Siman Shin Pei, like we saw in Siman Shin Pei. The Lishnayim Ein Mevatlan. You can't be Mevatel Rishus to two entities. Levisha Kol Echad Oisar Al Chaveroi. Those two entities that you're Mevatel Rishus to are going to aser on each other. Okay. So far the Mechaber gave us one scenario that I fully explained to you already, where Bittul Rishus works from one chatzar to another. Now let's see the next one, by where you have the ice cotton test for the Mishnah Berurah in the Mechaber. By me, it's the first word on the fourth line down. I think in the Dirshu print, it's a little bit different, but it's right by the ice cotton test. V'loishna ervu yachad. Or let's say Chatzar A and Chatzar B did join in one common Erev. Okay. Yechola kol achas levatel rishusa lechaverta. Each one could be mevatel rishus to the other one. Liyos muteres lihistamish ba v'loihi. So that they should be allowed to use the chatzar, but not the one person who did not join in the Erev. I know you're scratching your head. What is this talking about? So let's jump right into the Mishnah Berurah ice cotton test. V'loishna ervu yachad. This is the second case that the Mechaber gives us where Bittul Rishus is effective from one chatzar to the other. What's the case? Mairi, what we're talking about here is B'shashachach echad mehen v'loi erav. What happened was you have 20 residents in chatzar A. You have 20 residents in chatzar B. Chatzar A and Chatzar B joined in one common Erev. That's what the Mechaber meant when the Mechaber said, V'loishna ervu yachad. Or let's say Chatzar A and Chatzar B joined in one common Erev. But now what's the problem? One guy of these 40 forgot to join the Erev. Ma'iri b'sheshachach echad mehem v'lo Erev. One guy forgot to join the Erev. The yachal levatel rishusai livnei chatzar shaloi. Let's say that person who forgot to join the Erev lives in Chatzar A. All right, he's destroying everything. He's destroying the Erev of Chatzar A because he never joined in Chatzar A's Erev. Now Chatzar A joined in a common Erev with Chatzar B. But Chatzar A never had an Erev. So by joining with Chatzar B, they're destroying everybody's Erev. So what do you do now? So this guy in Chatzar A who neglected to join the Erev is going to be mevatel his rishus to the residents of Chatzar A, and he's also going to be mevatel his rishus to the residents of Chatzar B. So again, we're being mevatel rishus from one Chatzar to another, because this guy lives in Chatzar A, and he's being mevatel his rishus also to the residents of Chatzar B. He could be mevatel his rishus to the other residents of Chatzar A, which is his Chatzar, the gam livnei ha'acheres, and also to the residents of Chatzar B. Now, so far we covered what the Mishnah Berurah, what the Mechaber said, v'loishna ervu yachad. We could have a case where Chatzar A and Chatzar B joined in a common Erev. Yechola kol achas levatel rishusa lechaverta. Anybody who forgot to join the Erev in either Chatzar, they could be mevatel their rishus to the residents of both Chatzeros. And what will be the halacha? Lihiyos muteres lihishtamesh ba. Now all the residents of Chatzar A and Chatzar B will be allowed to be metaltal both in Chatzar A and Chatzar B. So everybody in Chatzar A and Chatzar B will be allowed to take their lawn chairs from the houses in one Chatzar to the Chatzar in the other Chatzar. V'loi hi. but not the guy who forgot to join the Erev. So again, we had 40 guys, 20 in A, 20 in B. One guy in A forgot to join the Erev. He's mevatel rishus to everybody in A and everybody in B. So now everybody is mutter. They can all take their lawn chairs from their houses in one chutzner to the chutzner of the other chutzner, except for the one guy who forgot to join the Erev and was mevatel his rishus. He is not allowed to take his lawn chair from his house to either chutzner. Not his own chutzner, not the other chutzner. Why not? Because when he was mevatel his rishus, what rishus was he mevatel? He was mevatel his rishus in the chutzner, but he was not mevatel the rishus in his house. So now the house is his own rishus, and the chutzner belongs to the residents of chutzner A and chutzner B. You're not allowed to go from one rishus to another rishus. So he can't transfer from his house to the chatzeros. Mishnah Berurah spells this out in Ois Katan Yud. Li Ois Muteres Veloihi Kayaresha. These words go back on the beginning of this case. No, this goes back even on the first case of the Mechaber. Even when Chatzar A and Chatzar B each made their own Erev. In both the first case and the second case of the Mechaber. In the case of Chatzar A and Chatzar B, where they each made their own Erev, and now they're being mevatel rishus to each other. So we said that in that case, the mevatel, let's say Chatzar B was mevatel rishus to Chatzar A, so now Chatzar A, they could bring their lawn chairs from their houses to the Chatzar of Chatzar B. But Chatzar B, the mevatel, they cannot transfer from their houses to their Chatzar. Exactly for the reason I just said. Because when they were mevatel, they were only mevatel the rishus over their Chatzar, but they weren't mevatel the rishus over their houses. So the residents of Chatzar B, they were the mevatel. They're the ones that gave up their rishus in their Chatzar. They gave up the right to transfer from their houses either to their Chatzar or the other Chatzar, because their houses are a separate entity. And in the second case of the Mechaber, where Chatzar A and Chatzar B joined in a common Erev, and one guy got left out, so that one guy is the mevatel. When he gives up his rishus, he didn't give up the rishus over his house. So his house is out of the Erev. His house is a separate entity. So by being mevatel rishus, he saved everybody else. Everybody else could transfer from their houses to the chatzeros, but he gave up his right to be mevatel to transfer from his house to the chatzeros, because his house is a separate entity. That's what this Mishnah Berurah means in Ois Katan Yud. Kaya Resha, these words, when the Mechaber says V'loi hi, that everybody else is mutter, V'loi hi, Kaya Resha, it goes back on the first case of the Mechaber, Ahecha she'erva kalachas la'atzma, where Chatzar A and Chatzar B made their own independent Eruvin, and now Chatzar B is mevatel to Chatzar A, Taha mevatlim, because Chatzar B that's mevatel to Chatzar A, Taha mevatlim rishusam, shuv asurim lohaitzi mibateim l'chatzar. They will be usher to transfer from their houses to either one of the chatzeros, because they gave up their rights in the chatzar, but they did not give up their rights over their houses. So their houses are a separate entity out of the Erev. And in the second case of the Mechaber, where you had the 40, the residents of A and the residents of B, and they all joined together except this one guy, and then Ubita Rishusa Lakulam, and then he was mevatel his rishus to the residents of both Chatzeros, who levado aser, he remains aser, because his house is a separate entity. The Kulam Mutarim, everybody else remains mutter. So now we covered the first two cases of the Mechaber. I want to push through to the end of this Seif, because if we have to go through it again tomorrow, it's going to be trouble. Now we get to the third case of the Mechaber. By me, it's 3 lines down in Seif Beis, almost at the beginning of the line. Loishna, it also makes no difference. Shtei chatzeroi zu lifnim mizu. Let's go back, if you remember this case, where we had 2 chatzeros. One is inside the other. So Chatzar A opens up onto Rishus HaRabim. Chatzar B only opens up onto Chatzar A. If the residents of Chatzar B want to go out to the Rishus HaRabim, they have to go through Chatzar A. What did we say the halacha is in that case? Let's say Chatzar A made an Erev and Chatzar B did not make an Erev. We said now Chatzar A is in trouble. Why? Because the residents of Chatzar B never made an Erev. So in their own Chatzar, they're Aser. What's that called? That's called regel ha'asura b'mekayma. They are usher in their own chutzner. And we said regel ha'asura b'mekayma. When you have people who are usher in their own place, then oiseres shaloi b'mekayma. They have a drisas haregel over chutzner A. They have a right of passage through chutzner A. Since they are usher in chutzner B, because they never made an erev in chutzner B, their drisas haregel over chutzner A is going to aser chutzner A, even though chutzner A made their own erev. Chutzner A's erev is not going to help them anything, because the drisas haregel, the right of passage that the residents of chutzner B have in chutzner A, is going to aser chutzner A. That's the case that we saw previously. Now the Mechaber is going to discuss how does bittul rishus affect that case. Says the Mechaber, let's say you had one chutzner behind the other one. And the outside one, they made their own erev. Oh, what's the halacha? Like I just told you. The residents of the inside chutzner aser on the outside one, because their drisas haregel, their rite of passage, asers the outside chutzner. What's the eitzah? The residents of the inside chutzner, they could be mevatel their rishus to the outside chutzner. What does that mean? Why are the residents of the inside chutzner asering the outside chutzner? They're aser where they are because they never made an erev. They have a right of passage through the outside one. That right of passage, like we've said previously, it makes them quasi-residents of the outside chutzner, to the extent that if they're aser where they are, and now they're walking through the outside chutzner, they're enough residents of the outside chutzner that they bring down the erev of the outside chutzner. What's the eitzah? The eitzah is that the people of the inside chutzner could be mevatel the rishus that they have in the outside chutzner, that rite of passage, they could be mevatel that rishus to the outside chutzner. What does that mean? How are they going to be mevatel that rishus? Says the Mechaber, what they're going to do is, yechayla levatel rishusa, they could give up their rite of passage. Shaloi tishtamesh, they will not use the outside chutzner. V'loi tavar aleha, and they will not pass through it. Ela b'shah shetzricha lotzeis, only when they must go out to the Rishus Harabim. V'tiya hachitzayna muteres, and that will allow the outside chutzner to be mutter. Zok the Mishnah Berurah in Ois Cotton Yud Aleph. Ela hachitzayna. In this case, where only the outside chutzner made an erev. Dem gam hachitzayna le'erevu. If the outside chutzner would not have made an erev, lo'yefshu bebittel, then bittel rishus wouldn't help. Then it wouldn't help for the inside people to be mevatel rishus to the outside people. Dein mevatel rishus lishnayim. Because what are the inside people doing? The inside people are being mevatel rishus to 20 entities that are in the outside chutzner. That's not effective. So we have to be talking about a case where the 20 residents of the outside chutzner made their own erev. Levada, but they only made their own erev alone. The inside chutzner did not make an erev. Va'az heavy apnimus regel ha'asura b'mekayma. So now the residents of the inside chutzner, their regel ha'asura b'mekayma, they're aser in their own chutzner. Va'iseres shaloi b'mekayma. So now they aser the outside chutzner. V'chanal b'simin shenayin chesif beis, like we saw previously. So now the eitzah is that the residents of the inside chutzner could be mevatel their right of drisas haregel to the outside chutzner. And what do they say? They say we're only going to go through your chutzner when we absolutely have to get to the Rishus Harabim. But we're not doing anything else. B'shor shetzricha lotzeis, the ein drisas haregel oiser, because the rite of passage that they have over the outside chutzner does not aser the outside chutzner, ela im asiyas tashmish. Only if they're also going to make usage of the outside chutzner. But if they make the statement and they say, we're being mevatel our rishus to the outside chutzner, and we're limiting ourselves completely only to when we must use it, then they don't aser. Okay, one more case in the Mechaber over here. A few words before where the Ois Cotton Yud Dalet is. Oi, another case. Im ervu yachad. If the inside chutzner and the outside chutzner, again, it's that same case of the inside chutzner and the outside chutzner. Im ervu yachad. If they joined in an erev together, v'nasnu eruvan b'chitzayna, and they placed the box of matzahs, they placed the erev in the outside chutzner. But one guy who lives in the inside chutzner neglected to join the Erev. And by doing so, he brought down the Erev of the inside chutzner. And by bringing down the Erev of the inside chutzner, he also destroys the outside chutzner. Because now the inside chutzner is regel asura b'mkaima. They're all asur in their chutzner, and their drisas are regel asur on the outside chutzner. Yachal levatel rishusai. This one guy who neglected to join the Erev, he could be mevatel his rishus. What does that mean? Continues the Mechaber. Dahainu sheyevatel rishusai. He'll first be mevatel his rishus l'chol echad b'bnei apnimis, to all the other residents of the inside chutzner, so that will resuscitate the Erev of the inside chutzner. The gam l'chol echad b'bnei achitzayna, and he'll also be mevatel his rishus of drisas haregel to the residents of the outside. Why does he have to do that? Why does he have to do that? Hold it. He was mevatel his rishus to everybody in the inside chutzner. So that resuscitated the Erev of the inside chutzner. So why is there any problem anymore? Now there's no more regular asura b'mekaimad. Now everybody in the inside chutzner is mutter again. So how are they asuring on the outside chutzner? The answer is because we said in Shin Ayin Ches, it's very good. There are 20 residents in the inside chutzner. Reuven lives in the inside chutzner. He forgot to join the Erev. He's mevatel rishus to the other 19 in the inside chutzner. So he resuscitates the Erev of the inside chutzner. But he is still also inside his own chutzner. Because when he was mevatel his rishus, he was only mevatel his rishus on the chutzner. He wasn't mevatel his rishus on his house. So in his own chutzner, he's asur from his house to the chutzner. So he's still regel ha'asura b'mkaima. He's still asur in his own chutzner. So he's still asur on the outside chutzner too. So he has to be mevatel rishus to the other residents of the inside chutzner and to the residents of the outside chutzner. So again, you're being mevatel from one chutzner to another. In this case, he'll remain asur in his own chutzner and in the outside chutzner, but everybody else will be good. Says the Mishnah Berurah, we're almost finished. Let's push through to the end. Says the Mishnah Berurah, and I cut in your dalit. V'nosnu eruvan b'chitzayna. The case that the Mechaber gave me was that the inside and the outside joined in a common Erev, and they put the box of matzah specifically in the outside chutzner. Says the Mishnah Berurah, lav dafka. This halacha is really going to be true. There's an application here that's going to be true also. If they put the box of matzah in the inside chutzner, the inside guy who forgot to join the Erev is still going to have to be mevatel rishus both to the inside people and the outside people. It won't be enough for him to be mevatel rishus to the inside people. And now he's a guest in the inside chutzner. And now he doesn't answer on the inside chutzner. Let's help cup. What the Mishnah Berurah is saying is, if the inside and the outside joined in a common Erev, one guy in the inside forgot to join. The box of matzahs is by the inside. So you'll say, so the inside guy who forgot to join will be mevatel rishus to the rest of the inside people. So now the inside is okay. Now the inside people will close the door and separate themselves from the outside. And now the outside people should be okay. Why do they have to be mevatel rishus to the outside people? Says the Mishnah Berurah, that won't work. The inside people will say, we're separating ourselves from the outside. Can't do that. Because since the klutz, the guy who made the trouble, the guy who forgot to join the Erev, the evus, the perversion, meaning the problem was created by one of the people of the inside chutzner. It comes from the inside chutzner. It was one of the guys of the inside who forgot to make the Erev. They could no longer separate from the outside people. Since they joined in one Erev. Even though the Erev is in the inside. What the Mishnah Berurah is saying like this. You would have thought, since the box of matzahs is in the inside chutzner, so what's the problem? Let the guy who forgot to join the Erev, let him be mevatel rishus to the inside people. Now the inside people have a good Erev. All right, what are you worried about? That since this one guy who didn't join the Erev is still usher in his own chutzner, because he wasn't mevatel rishus over his house, so he's still usher in his own chutzner. So now he ushers on the outside chutzner. We could solve that problem. Close the door between the inside chutzner and the outside chutzner, and the inside chutzner will say, we no longer want to be ma'uriv with the outside chutzner. So now this guy doesn't answer on the outside. We're not ma'uriv with them anymore. The Erev is in the inside. So the outside people don't need the Erev. The Erev's in the inside. We forget it. We'll cut ourselves off. That doesn't work. Since the one who made the problem was a resident of the inside, the inside no longer, if the problem would come from the outside, so then the inside people could say, we don't want to have anything to do with you. You're making us trouble. We don't want to have anything to do with you. But over here, the problem came from the inside. Now they can't do that. Okay. Says the Mishnah Berurah weiter in Eis Katan Tezvav, V'gam l'chalecha b'mnei achitzayna. He also has to be mavatar rishus to everybody outside. Shanasu k'chatzer echad yidei erev, because now the inside and the outside are one chatzer. V'afilu im yirtzu b'nei apnimi l'stalik atzvam min achitzayna. Gam ke they can't cut themselves off. Gam ke lo yimahani b'bittel b'nei apnimi levad v'chanav v'siv katan akaydim. Uberprat l'fi ma'ashet sira makabish erev munach b'chitzayna. Certainly, if the erev is in the outside chatzer, they can't cut themselves off. B'lav hachi yevshel l'histalik mehem. The inside people can't separate from the outside because the erev is in the outside. Sharei erev munach atzlam. If they would cut themselves off, they wouldn't have an erev anymore. But the guy who's being mavatal is still aser. He can't transfer from his house to the chutzner because he wasn't mavatal rishus over his house. So his house is still an independent rishus, and you can't be transferred from one rishus to the other. Siman shin pei. I know we went over time, but we had to push through to the end of this Seif. Mi'etz Hashem, I hope you'll join me tomorrow. Again, I thank you all for joining me in my simcha. And it was wonderful having you, and I'm so happy people are listening and using the share. Be well.